There you
Well,
go.
hold on. I want to know, like, outside of Flurple being racist, it seems to be a hot topic, and I asked Mac, why was he a subject? Was it just being racist? Was there more? Did he do more? I know about the
There's a
situation.
lot.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack
There's a
with
lot to
Flurple.
Can we
Flurple.
It's
perhaps
not
just
Honestly,
focus
live,
on
like
the issue at
but
Right.
hand?
it's a lot.
that's a whole different conversation. Stop it. Like, come
Yeah,
back.
I only used him as an example because he has mental shit going on and he's in a VA hospital. That's the only reason why I used him as an example, was it doesn't excuse your actions of what you're doing by saying you're a veteran and you suffer from
Gotcha.
PTSD or whatever, you know.
Gotcha.
Like
Yeah.
that to me, it's a slap to everybody's face who served or is currently serving or combat vets or even veterans of Vietnam. It's just a slap in the fucking face, and I don't
Gotcha.
appreciate what they did in by saying that. That's all I
Yep.
wanted to say.
All
I'm
right.
sorry, everybody, that's my dog smacking. He's very big and very loud. But yeah. And I didn't mean to excuse it as just racism. I meant racism plus more behaviors. So I'm sorry, that was delivered poorly. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Irish.
I want to address the rape threat and Avery. I know I'm not liked by a lot of people on the app. I understand that. I'm loud. I shout. I get angry. I use impolite language. I name call. I understand all of that, right? Um, but I think there's a couple of things about me that is well established at this point. The first one is I don't make allegations without having the receipts. After almost 2 years on this app, that just doesn't happen. If I make a claim uniformly, I'm able to back it up. And if I can't, I'll always say, I heard this, but I don't know. I also think another thing I've really established is intentionally or unintentionally, to the extent I advocate or speak on issues, the primary one is grape culture because it matters a lot to me. I'm going after Avery because Avery is someone who regularly transgresses people's very clearly stated sexual boundaries. And when people tell Avery, I am a victim of sexual assault, I'm a victim of child molestation. And when you regularly turn on your camera and you are nude but for your diaper, and you're using very sexual language and very vulgar sexual behaviors and facial expressions, it is hurting me. Avery doesn't care. And Avery not only doesn't care, but seems to intentionally keep doing it. Because after being told not to, they will Darvo the person to say, what's the big deal? It's not a big deal. I'm just existing. After the person explained why it's a big deal for them. This is why we focus on Avery. Now I want to talk about Jessica. Jessica and Aqua were going around to lives 1 or 2 days ago. I can't remember if it was yesterday or 2 days ago. And they were going into lives into trans spaces and LGBTQ spaces, telling people that I am dangerous to trans people and that
Wait
I
a
hate
second,
trans
Irish.
people.
I never said that. Stop it. Stop right there. I
Did
went
Jessica say
into
that?
I don't know. You said she did, but I wasn't in that live. I
We
went
could bring,
to
that's fine.
hold
That's
on.
fine. That's fine.
Hold
I
Irish, let
can
me
take back
talk.
the claim.
Let me talk. Let me talk. I went to one live to my friend Lexi's live, and my only intention going there was to say hello and please check your DM message. But then Jessica got up on the panel and things got messy.
What does
Now,
messy mean?
she got in a fight with that woman, Allie.
No, no, no. What did Jessica go up there to do or say?
Um, she was talking about some stuff she faced and how she doesn't like what's happening to Avery. And because she said that, nobody knew who Avery was. So it was this whole shit bashing thing. And I kept telling her to be quiet and get off the panel. and she mentioned you, but you can't say that I mentioned you because I didn't. I never told anyone you were dangerous. I have never once in my life said Irish is dangerous. Maybe to you in a text. Maybe I've said that to you in a text, but that no. Go ahead.
So
Say
you were on a live with Jessica, where Jessica did say that I'm not someone who should be believed. Do you agree with that?
Are you talking about the live she was on when you said I got Jessica taken off the panel?
Sure.
Okay, so I wasn't watching that live, Irish.
So I understand, and it's true, that Jessica was going around telling people not to believe me, and that Avery is being victimized by this transphobe named Irish. And on one of these panels, there was a woman named Allie. Allie listened to the claims, and I need to be super clear. Allie doesn't know me. Allie didn't know Aqua. I don't think they knew Avery. I don't think they knew Jessica. I don't think they knew Patch. Didn't know any of the people involved. Allie heard the claims and heard what they perceived to be slander about me. And this happens a lot. What doesn't happen a lot is Allie reached out to me and said, this person is making claims about you. Can you tell me your side of the story? She did exactly what we would encourage people to do. And I asked Allie, do you want to do a Discord call or do you want to do a live? She said, okay, I'll join your live. Now, I started the live, and within 5 minutes of Allie being up there, someone came in with an account saying, Allie, I will grape you. Now, let's go back and really look at why that was done and why Jessica did it. The reason is that a couple of hours prior to that account being created, Jessica went to that live, slandered me, and then in the 2 hours between the live where Jessica entered to slander me and the live where the threat was made, Allie did independent research on Avery. And then based on that research determined that Avery is actually lying and dangerous. And Allie messaged Jessica, and Allie told Jessica, I think you're wrong, and you may want to look at your friend again. And Allie and Jessica got into it in DMs. And when I say got into it, Allie was respectfully the evidence. Jessica was disrespectfully denying and darkening. And once she wasn't able to convince Allie of what Jessica believed to be the truth, Jessica blocked Allie. That's your motive right there. Jessica was going around trying to tell people Avery is a good person, Irish is a bad person. One person fact checked, they don't know me. They're not like a fan of me, they don't know me. And that person basically said to Jessica, I think you're wrong. I've shown those screenshots. It was 6 pages worth of screenshots. And less than an hour after Jessica got so upset with Allie, Jessica then blocked Allie. Do you know what level of fucking anger you have to block someone? Most people don't block people. And Allie, and I'll show the screenshots again when I go back over to my live, Allie was no way disrespectful whatsoever. An hour goes by, a live starts where I go up, Allie comes up and is asking questions while validating my belief that Avery is a sexual predator. And that's when an account comes in saying, Allie, I'm going to grape you. We block it, and Jessica comes up 1 minute later. The circumstances give Jessica the motive. We also know Jessica was there at the time that the account was there because Jessica entered the chat immediately after the other one was gone. Now you got your opportunity. Now let's look at the circumstantial evidence, which also to me validates that it's 100% Jessica. When Jessica gets asked a simple question, did you do it? Let's look at the answers as to why. Jessica said, I can't do that because I don't know how to create an alternate TikTok account. If you know how to make your first TikTok account, which you do, you know how to make an alternate TikTok account. So that's a bad excuse. If you're being asked, did you create that account? And your first answer is not, I would never do that. But instead your answer is, I'm technically not experienced enough to create a TikTok account. That's a lie. The next excuse was, I'm too old to create a TikTok account. I'm too old to create a TikTok account. That's an obvious lie. The next lie was, I'm too lazy to create a TikTok account. Well, we know that Jessica brags all the time that they are a transgender advocate hero on this app who is so busy fighting the West 4B movement. So is she a avid advocate who's constantly on TikTok fighting for the rights of trans people, or is she too lazy to create an alt account? Because I'm a little confused. Now, the next excuse was one offered by you, Aqua, where you said, I don't know when she would have had the opportunity to create that account. And you have stated that you were with Jessica the entire time and you never saw her do something like that. Well, apparently you never saw Jessica messaging Allie for 6 pages. So if you didn't see Jessica messaging Allie within that hour for 6 pages of dialogue, perhaps you didn't also notice your friend creating that account. So none of the excuses proffered by Jessica made any sense whatsoever.
Hold
Now,
on.
once-
Hold
hang on,
Irish,
hang on, let me
Irish,
just finish.
Irish.
I'm
No, no,
almost
no.
done. I'm
Pause,
almost done.
pause, pause.
Go ahead.
When I told you she was with me and I didn't see her make any accounts, at that point in our conversation, I didn't even know she had had a conversation with Allie. I didn't even know. Remember, I texted you later that night? And I'm like, they had a conversation. So when I said that to you, I didn't know she had had a conversation with Allie. And so the reason why I find it hard to believe is because in terms of Jessica's work, she's on the road driving all day with one device and on the phone and video with me, which is why I was kind of sideswiped, like, how could she do that? And when I said that, to be clear, at that time, I had no idea her and Allie had had a conversation in DMs.
So
Go
you
on.
now admit then that she did have the opportunity to create the account, correct?
Yeah, it could be a possibility, yes.
So you now admit she had the opportunity to create the account, correct?
Yes, there's a possibility, yes. I will concede to a
Right.
possibility. Go ahead.
So now we're going to talk about why it is on top of all of that, which is that when we then confronted Jessica about her creating the account, because it was obvious to anyone, Jessica gave all those stupid excuses, and then less than a minute into the explanation, I asked the question about the account, and Jessica said the following: I had no business making. Then they stopped. Now you said you understand their language pattern and you understand that sometimes they stumble over words. I don't disagree with that. They can stumble over words. I don't care about the fact that they stopped. I care about the words they used before they stumbled. I had no business making. I have thought about this as hard as I can, and I can't think of any other words that would follow other than that account. I can't. I couldn't think of anything else in good faith that would have followed other than that account. They may have stumbled in that they didn't finish that statement. But the point is, there's no reason to believe that the words they did state were not the words they meant. I had no business making blank. Now, once they stumbled, they caught themselves. I think when you listen to the video, it's clear. And why is it within 1 minute of that, she's shouting at all of us and then leaves the live? I think it's fair to assume that it was because they realized that they had stumbled, said that accidentally, and then they tried to deflect, and when that didn't work, they got angry and they left. Now, I'm going to point this out, as someone who does, you talk about your community, that you want to protect trans women, that you want to protect autistic people. My community in this app, for better or worse, are victims of sexual assault. And I'm going to say this so bloody fucking clearly. The number one problem with grape in America, in the world, is this idea that my friend couldn't do it. That somehow we have special insight into our friends and our relatives that allows us to know in their soul who they really are, such that when someone accuses them of bad acts, we put a blanket around them and say, come here, baby, I'll protect you from all the people saying that you could possibly be that monster. And you are committing that exact fallacy right now by saying, my friend could never do that. Your friend was a white supremacist who got a schmatzi tattoo on them. Your friend is capable of great evil. Your friend is capable of great evil. And the fact that you're saying your friend could not be capable of evil today, when they've clearly demonstrated they were capable of great evil before, is incredibly insulting to people. When your friend created an account threatening to grape a woman. The second thing you did was you engaged in victim blaming. I have all the DMs and I'll show every single one of them, because when I told you that's nonsense, your response was the person who made the account was the woman herself. You said Allie created that account. You called Allie a transphobe, someone you never knew anything about. You said that Allie created that account because she had such great animosity towards Jessica, a person who Allie had never met before, that she must have been motivated enough to do that to somehow slander herself, which is a nonsense idea. Not only nonsense because who would do that, nonsense because how did Allie creating that account hurt Jessica, but for the fact Jessica entered the live completely coincidentally? We didn't know Jessica was going to enter that live. If Jessica had never entered that live, we wouldn't have thought anything of it. You turned around, you not only said Allie did it to herself, you then told me in my DMs, and don't deny it, you accused Allie, the victim, of sending you grape threats. You said that Allie, the victim, sent you multiple grape threats, and you thanked me for giving you the evidence so that now you know that she did that. And then, after I showed how stupid that was, you then tried to say your ex-stalker, Percy, did it. Then you blamed Mac for creating the account. Then you blamed the West 4B movement to create the account. The only person I've not seen you blame for creating the account is your goddamn grapey friend, Jessica. And the idea that you're creating some sort of sense of exceptionalism when it comes to that friend, I would say is completely out of you and perhaps not in any way indicative of your character, but for the fact the other person that you and I are currently fighting over is also a sexual predator who you're also defending and making excuses for. The only thing consistent from you throughout this entire debacle has been the fact that you defend sexual predators routinely on the basis of the fact that you know them and therefore they're not capable of bad things. You have engaged and supported and endorsed not only sexual predators, but also grape culture myths, while at the same time victimizing the very victims that your friends are perpetrating harm onto. I don't think you should apologize. I don't think you should take accountability. I think you need to be chased the fuck off this app because your behavior is not indicative of anything else but a self-involved, self-centered, disgusting sociopath whose only concern for themselves on this app is looking like you do good. Because nothing you've done on this app has been indicative of you being a good person. That's my 2 cents. I rest my case.